Hi everybody, Luke Filmboss here, and today is my second MCU movie review. Today I will be reviewing The Incredible Hulk. Now there's a lot of things that you could nitpick about this movie, like why on earth is he in a very crowded city if he's trying to reduce his stress levels, and why is he working in a very stressful work environment with lots of machinery and such, and like why isn't he a little bit more careful, like when he gets cut and his blood falls, why doesn't he look a little bit harder, like to make sure that there's no blood lying around everywhere. Like if he had done that, the government never would have found him again in the first place, and there wouldn't really be a movie. Like little things like that push the story forward, and I don't mind them. They're not really big problems, but they do kind of lessen the quality of the movie, that they couldn't think of any smarter ways to progress the story. Overall, this movie is just really average, and not because of the small little details that kind of drag it down, but mostly because this movie isn't very memorable or special. It doesn't leave you thinking about anything. Like, they have lots of potential, but in the end, you don't feel anything emotionally, and it doesn't really give you anything to think about. Two examples is that they had this story where you're kind of trying to think, who's the real monster, the Incredible Hulk or Colonel Ross and the military? And the movie does build this up pretty well, but it doesn't finish it the way it needs to be done. Because it builds up that Colonel Ross is the true monster, and then it kind of also builds up the military soldier as the Abomination, and then once he becomes the Abomination, it kind of lets Colonel Ross off the hook, and he ends up helping the Incredible Hulk, and so now he doesn't have to face anything. He doesn't have to face his daughter because he helped her love interest, Bruce Banner, and it kind of gets off the hook as being the monster because the Abomination is now the true monster. Also, with the Incredible Hulk, or Bruce Banner's story of how he sees the Hulk as a disease, something that's bad that he has to get rid of, it plays out that story pretty fully, but there's no arc. He knows that he has to become the Hulk again to defeat the Abomination, but he still doesn't see any good in the Hulk. And yes, it kind of had to build up for the rest of the MCU where he struggles with that, and it builds that up nicely. But in this movie, he doesn't learn anything. There's no arc for him, and so that kind of leaves this movie a little bit just bland, and it's just an entertaining ride rather than a meaningful experience. Now, the Abomination's character, the military soldier who becomes the Abomination, I actually thought he is a pretty good villain. He isn't like great, he's not up on the top tier list in MCU villains, but he does leave a lot of the very mediocre villains behind. I kind of like his motivations. They're kind of simple, but they are strong. He is an aging soldier who wants to be in his prime again, and so that leads him to wanting more and more of the serum, which enhances his strength. And he also doesn't want to retire. He wants to continue being a fighter for the rest of his life, and so he's looking for one really good fight, and that leads him to want to face the Hulk, who is like the ultimate soldier. And that leads him to want to become stronger and stronger so that he can be evenly matched against the Hulk, leading to him becoming the Abomination. And I thought it was pretty good. And this movie gives us some great Hulk action. I like the concept of the movie being like mainly a manhunt movie where they're trying to find and contain Bruce Banner. And this is the Hulk movie we deserved as far as the action and stuff, and especially that third act battle between the Hulk and Abomination. But some of the Hulkness about this movie kind of leaves some of the deeper elements in the dust, and that's why, once again, it becomes a pretty mediocre film. I want to mention Bruce Banner's love interest. I don't remember her name outside of her last name, which is Ross, because she's Colonel Ross's daughter. But Liv Taylor, the actress, is honestly the only reason I enjoyed this character. She has some good lines of dialogue, she has a nice personality, and she serves somewhat of a purpose as some motivation for the Hulk. But overall, she doesn't have her own story arc. She doesn't have her own defining character traits that make her special. She's just another mediocre part of this movie. But I think that they should have used her more in the franchise. I am disappointed that this is the only movie that they had her in. I would have used her in Avengers Age of Ultron. In that movie, Black Widow kind of is used as a character who calms the Hulk down, when they don't need the Hulk. And she also is a love interest for Bruce Banner in that movie, and that doesn't really work really at all. It works a little bit, but honestly they should have brought in Liv Taylor's character to serve as that purpose. I don't know how they would have done it. I think how I would have done it is in Captain America the Winter Soldier, have some mention of her joining S.H.I.E.L.D. and being a trainee in S.H.I.E.L.D., or have like a scene where you see her as a S.H.I.E.L.D. agent and then make some mention of it, and then have her with them at the Hydra base in Age of Ultron, and have her as the substitute for Black Widow, who calms the Hulk down and who is the love interest for Bruce Banner, and then have some like emotional story arc play where she ends up dying and that leads the Hulk to leaving. Like, all of that would have made more sense and would have been more emotional than what we got with Black Widow. Not that all of that was done terribly, but I think that had they used Colonel Ross's daughter in Age of Ultron, it would have made it a whole lot better. There's a lot of things that this movie set up for the MCU that didn't pay off. You have, I think his name is The Mind. That's his villain name. I'm not sure what his actual name is. He helps Bruce Banner in this movie get rid of the Hulk, which it turns out he didn't get rid of the Hulk. But they set him up, and he isn't used at all in the rest of the franchise. After 23 movies, and he's still only in one of them. That was kind of a poor setup because they didn't have any plans with him. And so we're left just like wondering why we didn't get more of him. Also, Colonel Ross, they have used him in other films, and we know that he's going to be in Black Widow and probably in Falcon and the Winter Soldier. So throughout the rest of the MCU, he might have a full story arc, whether he's a villain or helps the heroes. But so far, we haven't seen Colonel Ross live up to his potential. There's other characters in this movie that just don't play any important part. And the one thing that this movie does set up well is the fact that Bruce Banner struggles with himself and the Hulk. And that story and arc is played out throughout the rest of the MCU very nicely. And this movie, although it doesn't do justice for the movie itself, does set it up well for the rest of the franchise. I give The Incredible Hulk a 70% in quality, a 70% in enjoyment, for an overall score of 70%. Thanks everyone for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe, and hit that notification bell to help you be on the lookout for more videos from Luke Film Boss.